What's going on, guys? Fun with Eyes back again, and I just want to do a quick video here. I think we can call this a size comparison between the Kershaw Launch 1, 2, and 3. Now, I own the Kershaw Launch 1 and 2. The 1's in gray, the 2 is in OD green, but this Launch 3 belongs to JT's Knife Life, and he sent it over as a loaner for me to check out. These all are very similar in size, and I believe that these came out in the initial wave of when the Launch series was started. I think that was 2015, and these three knives came out since they've extended the line to 4, 5, 6, and 7, I believe. But these are all generally around the same size. 3 1/4 blade, 4.5 inches of handle, thereabouts, and very well suited to EDC in my opinion. But I just kind of wanted to give you guys kind of a size comparison, just to let you guys look at them in hand and in thickness and everything like that. I'm not going to get into the specs though, because you guys can easily look those up, but sometimes it's just so much better to look at these knives right next to each other if you're in the market for one of these three. Now, I have my preferences and which ones I think are better at certain things than others, and I'll kind of go over that. But first, this is the clip side of each of the knives. Let's organize these in 1, 2, and 3. Yes, the Kershaw Launch 3 is wearing a custom clip. I'm not entirely sure where it's from. I'm guessing somewhere like MXG gear, but it is extremely deep carry when you compare it to the, well, I'm knocking my little sign off there, the standard kind of Skyline clips that come on the majority of the Launch series. You can see that that's sitting well below the line of the pocket there. So is that an improvement? Not necessarily. I mean, if you guys want your knife a little bit more accessible, this clip's better. But as far as functionality, I think they both work great. This is going to be much, much more discreet and sit lower in your pocket. Now, this does have a kind of a custom finish on it. This was DLC black coated, so it had the exact same color config. Wow, this Launch 2 is still broken. I almost forgot. I'm going to open this two-handed, I guess. These were the exact same color configuration, but the DLC blade has been worn off here to reveal kind of a satin going on, which is kind of cool. But this is what the clip side is going to look like on each of these knives. You can see each of the 6061 aluminum handles here is pretty heavily chamfered and milled. The Launch 2 kind of got that fuller going on in the middle that flows with the design, but all of them are pretty decent in hand. If I had to pick an ergonomic winner, it's going to be the Launch 1 though. The Launch 1 just has this nice gradual slope throughout. It's kind of got that pseudo pistol grip going on, and it just excelled in all the cutting tasks that I've put through it, or put it through. This is not going to excel, however, in piercing or puncturing tasks if you really need to get into some tough material, foam, bags of cement, whatever it is. There's not really a blade guard here. I mean, there's a slight one from this choil here, but you could very easily hop onto the edge. So I'd say for hard use cutting, the Launch 1's probably not going to be the ticket. But as far as general EDC cutting, the Launch 1 is, in my opinion, the best ergonomics. Launch 2, what does it excel at? Well, this does have a broken spring. I don't know if you guys are curious and checking out the video. I posted something on it, but I still need to contact Kershaw to get that fixed. Man, this is really hard to flick open. But the Launch 2 to me excels in carryability. It's much slimmer than its contenders, both in the Launch 1 and 3 here. It's very easy to carry because of this dimension here. All of them are going to be fairly similar when it comes to thickness. I believe they're around 1/2 inch, 0.47, 0.48, something like that. So you can see all of them, same materials, all USA made, CPM 154 blade steel. They're going to carry roughly the same in this dimension. It comes to this dimension that things get a little bit different. And you can see the Launch 2 is the slimmest. So if you're looking for, I don't know if there's such thing as a gentleman's carry automatic, this is going to be the closest thing to it out of these three. And if you want wanting more room in that pocket for phone or keys or anything, I'd point you towards this one. Now the Launch 3, in my opinion, since it's not mine, haven't spent as much time with it, it excels in traction. This is the only one that has a pronounced finger guard and jimping. This thing locks in your hand better than the Launch 1 or 2 by a mile. Now the jimping is fairly sharp. You can see it really grabs onto you, but it lets you know it's there. And if you did have to do those hypothetical puncturing tasks that we were talking about earlier, that's what you use your EDC knife a lot for. I would point you here. And again, this has the slightest gradual slope to it as well, like the Launch 1, and it's a fairly neutral handle once you get past that guard, and it feels pretty decent in hand. I mean, all these knives are chamfered off as the handle goes. and there's no real hot spots in that respect. All of them, at least in this coloration, have the all blacked out firing button nearly in the same place, and all of them are slightly recessed. Now, the Launch 1, to me, has the best action because it fails to lock open the least, which is very, very rare on the Launch 1, but yet the action is still snappy. You guys know the story on the Launch 2. The spring broke, and before it did, wow, I cannot get this thing open today. Before it did, it had an overly strong spring, meaning that it would come back, smack the stop pin, and end up around there. And it was very frustrating, but again, I'm not using these knives for hard use, so I could kind of overlook it because I think all these knives in the Launch series represent good value. But yeah, they really need to work out that locking open issue, because the Launch 3 also has it. You can see here it locked up fine that time, but not that time. I'd say it's roughly 50-50 with this thing, which is just not really acceptable. I'm sure you could send it in to get that spring tuned, but it's really not something you want to deal with. So as far as reliability and opening, I choose the Launch 1. Now, all of these come in a wide variety of blade finishes and colorways when it comes to that anodized handle, so that's not really a concern as far as variety goes. But as far as the blades go, in my opinion, the Launch 1 also wins. So the Launch 1, you can see, is already, tacking up a whole lot of points here because they're all starting from about 0.12 blade stock, which is around 1/8 of an inch, and this thing has the grind that travels the farthest. It's the widest blade, making it the most slicey, if you will. It just performs the best, in my opinion. The Launch 2 is going to lose in this category by a mile because it has nearly a spear point kind of grind. It's got that saber grind starting about midway through, meaning you're going to be much less keen behind the edge. And the Launch 3 is a similar story. Now, are they bad as far as grind goes? No, I don't think so. But they could be better. I think in order of sliciness, if you want to call it that, the Launch 3 barely beats out the Launch 2. But again, the Launch 1 is going to win by a mile. Now, carryability, I already told you that the Launch 2 won, but look at the Launch 1 here. It's much wider. It's got that wider blade. It's got a wider handle for you to grip onto, which also aids in those ergonomics, but it's just not the easiest knife to carry, especially with that clip. Now, if you have, a large phone or keys or wallet you're going to throw in the same pocket, I don't know if the Launch 1's going to fit. But the Launch 2 most certainly will, and the Launch 3 might be a contender as well. It's got kind of a teardrop shape in the sense that it's thinnest at the back and widest at the guard here. So it's pretty easy to carry, especially with this clip, but I'm sure the standard clip wouldn't be an issue as well. Something else to point out, the Launch 3 is the only one out of the 3 that does not have a lanyard loop. You can see there's the lanyard loop on the 2, which is in the best position. The Launch 1 lanyard loop is going to come out here, go through there, and the Launch 3 fails to have one. Now, it's the most open of all the designs on the table, but I suppose you could try to run some paracord through here and tie it tight, but I have a feeling that it would really interfere with the blade, so probably not something I would try. As far as construction goes, all of their show sides are completely screwless other than the pivot, and then you have your holes drilled for a tip-up left or right-handed carry, so they're going to be the same in that regard. Construction is very similar on all 3, except the Launch 1 has an extra screw up here. So solidity as far as locks go, they're all the same. All of them lock up really nice. I mean, there's barely any blade play, if any, and that Launch 1 has been under constant use. Launch 3 is extremely solid. I have faith in the plunge lock, even though I've mentioned in the past that it's not my favorite lock. On these ones, it just works. So your final verdict's probably going to be different than mine, but I think each of these knives excel at something different. But honestly, if you are looking at a Launch knife, I would encourage you to buy it in person. I would highly recommend the Launch 1 to anyone looking at it because I've had a phenomenal experience with it, but the Launch 2 failed to lock open all the time, then the spring broke. It could have been 11, it could have been something I was doing, or it could have just been, a bad design, but I doubt it. I've heard other people loving their Launch 2s, but the Launch 3 has that similar bounce back kind of issue where, it might not lock up all the time. So as far as reliability goes, I would check it out. That being said, I think the Launch series embodies great value because you're getting a powdered metallurgy steel. They're USA made. Most of them have pretty decent ergonomics, and you get to pick your flavor as far as color and blade finish, and even steel now. I think they're coming out with a couple of different steels as far as sprint runs go, and they're coming in at $100 or less for the most part. So yes, I still like the Launch series, and this is just to help anybody out that is looking to buy one of the original 3. I kind of try to point on all the high points of those, and I think that's about it. To me, the clear winner here is the Launch 1. It's the most usable. I think it looks the best, honestly, and the ergonomics are just bar none when it comes to the Launch series that I've seen so far. But I think each of them would be fine if you can get your hands on it first. Check it out. Make sure it fires, it locks open every time. You're probably going to be one happy camper. So thanks for watching, guys, as always, and thanks again to JT for letting me take a look at the Launch 3 to just kind of compare and contrast them and see if I liked it. I might not be sending this Benchmade back with you though, man, because I've kind of fallen in love with this little guy. And I know you love your mini grips. I'm sorry about that, but JT's an awesome guy. He told me I get to keep either the Benchmade mini grip or the Launch 3. He sent them both my way to check out, which is an incredibly generous gesture, and I'll get to that in a different video. I just kind of wanted to mention that at the end of this one. So thanks for watching, guys, as always, and remember, have fun with your knives.